Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Roll call,
Mayor Gerardo Anaya,
present.
Vice Mayor Jesus Roldan, Councilmember Luis Galindo, Councilmember Miguel Villalpando,
Present.
Councilmember Juan Castillo,
Present.
Councilmember Marta Gonzalez,
Present.
Councilmember Lorena Delgadillo. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Call to the public. Anybody from the public wishing to address council?
Mayor, we were gonna have the postmaster, new postmaster, but if we could, if she does show up a little bit later, if we could open it up again, that'd be okay.
Okay. Moving on to consent agenda, we have two items. Item number one, check register for the month of November 2023. And item number two, approval of amendment to city manager employment agreement. Does any member of council want to remove an item from consent agenda? Is there a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
So motion by Councilwoman Gonzalez, second by Councilman Villalpando. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have two presentations. The first one is from Greg LaVan, Greater Yuma Economic Development Corporation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Good to see everybody tonight. Move this up. So going forward, you're going to see quite a bit more of me. In the past, UIC has only given a mid-year report to council, and for me, that just wasn't good enough. You know, we want to come before you more often. You are spending taxpayer dollars on our organization, and you should see where your money is being spent and your return on your investment for your actual investment in GYDC. So with that, I'd like to start my presentation. And I want to start by saying economic development is not one size fits all. It's not the same in any state, in any county, in any city, and even in any neighborhood as well. And so going forward, when we talk about economic development before you, we're going to be talking about City of Somerton focus efforts, City of Somerton focus initiatives, and City of Somerton focus results. Within this, you can see in the past year, we had two companies that we work with that located within your territory, actually hired residents within your community and made investments within your community as well. That was Somerton Manufacturing and Aloe Fiber, who I believe is going to, well, PJ is here speaking on behalf of them this evening. Somerton Manufacturing is actually manufacturing products that are going outside this area, and actually new revenue income are coming into your community. They took the old, what they call Purina building off of County 19th Street, and they've invested quite a bit of money into that to manufacture products that get sold around the world. Along with that, Aloe Fiber, we work with them at the beginning stages of broadband task force to essentially bring broadband fiber to this entire county. And within that now, Aloe Fiber is actually building that within your community and along with other ones. And that is going to provide an economic development backbone that we can market for future uses, whether it be retail, hospitality, or manufacturing. So we're very proud of these companies. They are in your backyard. They are doing work here, and they are part of the Somerton community. Next slide, please. And in the last 2 years, I wanted to demonstrate what we've done for an entire region as well. Post-COVID, we've been out of it 2 years now fully. And so we want to demonstrate what we've been doing. Within that 751 new jobs created for the entire county, 85 of those jobs went to Somerton residents. So those individuals are working somewhere within the county, but they're bringing their revenue and their income back to your community to spend it here and hopefully help you bring new economic development projects here because of their presence. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So within that as well, we also work to not only bring companies to Yuma County, City of Somerton, other areas, but we also work with our investors to help them grow as well. Within there, you can see AEA, Arizona Work, and Arizona Western College are all dear partners, I believe, the City of Somerton. And so we work with them to help bring more capital investment, allow them to save additional money within their own budget so that they can reinvest into your community and surrounding communities. We're very proud of that because at the end of the day, most economic development activity comes from existing companies. So we need to make sure the companies we're working with locally are also benefiting, not just the ones that we're trying to bring to the community. Next slide, please. As I talked about at the beginning, economic development is not one size fits all. So going forward, GYDC is going to be working very closely with the city of Somerton, Yasmin, and Saul, and the entire group to work on bringing in new retail hospitality to your community. We know that is a driving need for this community. You're growing very quickly. Actually, your numbers don't even report how big you are and how much spending power you have. And so we know that Yasmin has a very Herculean task of going out there and finding retail and hospitality users. And so we're going to work with her to help out with that. Placer AI is a very sophisticated software program that almost all of the retail and hospitality groups around the world use. It's recognized as being one of the highest performing software programs. And really what it does is demonstrates the actual spending power of your community, where people are going, where people are shopping, and also along with that, when people leave Somerton, spend money other areas, how that could be brought back to your community as well. It's a very expensive program. And the reason why you partly invest in GYC is because it allows you to leverage your funds with other cities and counties so we can provide these assets to your staff at any given time. So I know Yasmin has used this to go to ICSC, where actually we met today and we're talking about some other initiatives we're going to use this information for. And ultimately, this will be part of your recruiting efforts as you go out and try to attract new users to this community. I know whether it be City of Yuma, City of San Luis, or other areas, a lot of times we talk about base industry, but we know the City of Somerton wants retail and hospitality to begin with, and we will also work to bring more Somerton manufacturing projects to your community. But at the end of the day, we are working on a number of different efforts here to ensure that you are getting your return on your dollar directly from our efforts. Next slide, please. So that's what we've done. That's what we plan on doing. And this is what's on the horizon as well. Within this, my organization is also going to be hiring a binational consultant to go into Mexico, work within Mexico to bring foreign direct investment to our communities, in particular South County, Somerton, and San Luis. So we'll be working to find companies down there that want to invest into the Yuma region or Yuma County region, see Somerton in particular. But we also want to go out there and find new companies that want to expand into our region as well. Companies that are right now looking to get closer to America or get back to America because China and India have become too cost prohibitive. And so we want that ability for us to be out there in Mexico, marketing our port of entry, marketing our South County communities, and marketing the ability that they can do business here without having to go to another part like Nogales, Tijuana, or other surrounding areas. We want to make sure that our border communities are being represented. And the only way we can do that is we're actually out in Mexico promoting our entire area. Along with that, we are also working with Shaw Floors. I don't know if you know, Shaw Floors Carpets is actually going out of business. Well, they're actually closing their plant here. And within their 55 Somerton residents work for Shaw Carpets. That was the number they gave me. And so we're working to get each of those individuals a new job within the county, because we want to ensure that, especially around this holiday time, that they have income in their pockets, so that their families aren't being left in the cold to figure out how they're going to be able to pay bills. So that's an effort that we're directly related to working on behalf of the city of Somerton. And then lastly, we're also working with the Arizona Commerce Authority on promoting our commercial port of entry, promoting our port of entry and all of our access to the entire world. So we're meeting with countries across the world to let them know about why we're special, why you can actually enter into the United States through Mexico, and how you can access a number of different markets through San Luis and Somerton. So that's another promotion we're doing on behalf of the city. And then lastly, something I think that hits near and dear to every one of us here is childcare. We're finding that police officers, military members, nurses, doctors, and other people are having a hard time getting back to work because childcare has gotten so unaffordable. So we're working with Chicanos por la Casa, First Things First, and other institutions here to try to figure out a way to help cut the cost of childcare in our local area. Our employers are suffering, our community is suffering, and so we've taken a lead along with our partners to address that as well. We know that will benefit the city of Somerton, and we also know that will benefit the entire county. So those are some of the efforts that we're working on that are going to directly impact Somerton. These are initiatives that we intend to work with Jasmine on directly. Retail and hospitality is not easy attraction. It takes time. It does take investment. And then that's why going forward, we're going to ensure we give her all the tools that we can afford to give her so that she can go out there and promote your city to the fullest extent. And then we'll be with her whenever she'd like us to be there as well, so that we can tell the story from a regional aspect, which is very important to retail and hospitality users, because they need to know not only what's happening in your city, but know what's happening around your community as well. So with that, I'd like to move to the last slide. and just invite you to attend our January 24th luncheon. We'd love to have the whole city of Somerton there. I know Yasmin came to our last luncheon, and we're going to be talking about how we're going to move from talk into action to fix our childcare crisis here locally, and how we're going to work to help every single community by trying to find some solutions. With that, I will open up for questions or comments.
Thank you, Greg. I know that you mentioned Somerton, and those were some of the comments that council members have had with the previous presentation. So I'm glad that you touched on what's the direct benefit to Somerton. So that's highly appreciated. Other council members, any questions or comments?
Mayor, this is Councilman Villalpando. I have a question.
Let's go ahead, Councilman. Councilman Villalpando, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yes, Greg, could you possibly elaborate on the tools and that you would be providing Jasmine and how you would be assisting her as far as attracting new business, or are you going to provide her leads? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yes, Councilman, and I would tell you that part of the reason why we wanted to become more focused on Somerton was comments you made at our last presentation. So you certainly inspired some future thoughts and ideas. The Placer AI is one that's very unique. That program, as I mentioned, is very expensive. City of San Luis and City of Somerton have wanted to use it for many years, but unfortunately couldn't afford to pay for it on their own. And so within that, we're going to take that data. I believe Yasmin has already used some of it at ICSC, and that really does start to demonstrate to retailers and hospitality what Somerton's real buying power is, what Somerton's real population is. We actually ran a report recently, and I believe Yasmin will talk about this later on, but based upon your buying power in Somerton right now and what they see people leaving your community to spend money on, they estimate Somerton to be more around 25,000 people, which I think we all agree is that's a closer number. So that was very telling for us, and it's certainly going to help Yasmin and myself when we go out there and talk to companies and developers about how large Somerton really is and what your potential is for supporting new industry in the local area. When we talk about actually developing leads, we have another database called Dun & Bradstreet. Doesn't matter the name, but they are the foremost software program on the market, and that will allow us to find direct contacts to C-suite developers, C-suite managers within different retail groups, and we can target them directly. We can actually send them emails, we can call them directly. We get a lot of information from this program. And once again, we invest a lot of money into it. And so by extent, we want to make sure that all of our communities are taking advantage of it. So hopefully that answers your question, Councilman.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I appreciate the information. Quite honestly, I'll be flat out and honest. You know, that last presentation from your predecessor didn't leave too high of an impression with me.
Mm-hmm.
But quite honestly, now that I see and I ask questions and you give me a straight answer, I appreciate that. And I just want to let you know that I look forward to working with you. And if there's any questions or anything from our end, feel free to reach out to us as council members or staff.
Thank you, Councilman. I really appreciate that. I'm a data geek. For me, it's all about the numbers. That tells the whole story for the most part. So we want to get as much information out there as possible. You know, I commend the city of Somerton for making your community a live, work, play community. I've seen other communities around the country do that, and it's a very effective approach, and companies will take notice of that in due time.
And one quick question, Greg, right
Sure.
off the bat. Now, as far as trends, is it worthwhile exploring retail when, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the trends are now going to online shopping versus brick and mortar. Is this, as far as retail, do you see it us pursuing brick and mortar worthwhile versus maybe warehousing or that type of industry?
I do. And, I've spoke to Saul about this in the past. I know there are plans to develop the, what do you call it, the east side of Somerton for more industrial warehousing, which I think makes a lot of sense. But I think in the interim, as you continue to be a livable city that really folks around the county want to live in, because you're second safest city in Arizona and so many other things you already know, the retail establishments are going to help you attract more professionals to your community. We know city of Yuma has gotten more expensive with development, and the foothills is even more expensive. And San Luis, I believe, is a little bit more expensive than Somerton as well. So with that, it's very smart to try to bring those quality of life amenities to your community so people want to live here. And they may not all necessarily work in your community, but they're going to come here at the end of the day and spend their money. We know as well, you have a large influx of, seasonal workers that come through Somerton every day. So trying to capture that spending power makes a lot of sense. And then along with that, the hospitality side makes a lot of sense in my mind as well. We have a lot of hotels in Yuma, and we have some hotels in Yuma in Foothills, and San Luis has a hotel coming online. But beyond that, there's still a huge demand for hotels. And I was just talking to a representative today from the Marine base, and he was talking about how just finding hotels right now at government rates is so difficult, and hotels will only allocate maybe 10% of their rooms for military rates. So you start looking at that from military, Border Patrol, CBP, healthcare workers for Regional Center Board of Health. There's a lot of seasonal economy that happens here, and people need somewhere to stay if they can't find apartments. So I do believe that will be a worthwhile effort that Jasmine will be leading, and we'll help her any way we can.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Bear. Thank you, Council. We'll see you soon, I believe in February. Have a good night.
Item number 2, Yuma County Middle Mile Project.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here today, Mayor, council members. My name is PJ Way. I'm with Yuma County. I am the Middle Mile Broadband Program Manager. So what we're doing with the Middle Mile, I wanted to just take a little, first of all, thank you again for the invitation. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here tonight to talk to you a little bit about what the Middle Mile is, what that means to the county, what it means to all of the areas surrounding our area where we live. So one of the things that the Middle Mile is designed to do, the Middle Mile infrastructure is to bore and construct fiber, a dark fiber environment throughout the region. The goal of this dark fiber is to provide a lower cost, lower barrier of entry for internet service providers to come to the region. And part of what I want to talk about tonight actually has evolved from the conversation that I just heard. Fiber and broadband allows opportunities to bring new business. It helps with lowering barriers for education, for healthcare, quality of life services, infrastructure. So what I want to share is just what we've done, where we are today, kind of give you a quick heads up and some outline of what we have developing from a Middle Mile infrastructure, and then elaborate a little bit more on how internet service providers will be able to make those type of connections. Yeah, no worries. I'm willing to, I can do without it. long story short, this, I will tell you a little bit more about while they work to get this up. This project itself is about a $20.7 million for what we have is 3 rings that circle the entire area in this main section. I like to say main section of Yuma County. When we start going to the east through the valley, that's a second phase. That second phase is currently begun, and that will conclude by December of 2024. That was funded with an additional $10 million from federal grants. So all of this totals about $30.7 million, and we have additional opportunities that we're looking to expand to maintain our agricultural environment, water conservation, and focus on the needs of the people of this region. The project itself today, we are a little over 90% complete. We are about 93% complete with the Middle Mile infrastructure as it's been bored. And then we have the fiber, which is going to be blown through following right up. Those regions, part of that runs right down here off US 95. So the part of the benefit of having it in these locations where they've been strategically placed is that it allows new providers to come into the area and have lower cost and higher availability of high-speed performance internet service.
We're almost there.
Almost there.
Mayor, we did email you, both you and the councilwoman, but we're getting a USB and we'll get it up there. For some reason, it just didn't connect right.
If
We're
we had
trying to
fiber,
dir-
would that happen? Or?
Good question, Mayor. Good question. Right. Well, there goes it just expresses a further need, right? And it's been a beautiful partnership. Allo was the company that was selected to do this. And I'm going to mention Allo briefly, just because they are doing the construction work and they also have the relationship for doing middle mile management. So Allo is actually being treated as a two-party system. One is they are middle mile management for the county. So they're helping with the operations to bring in the new ISPs, get them connected, make sure the service is up and running. We have quality of service agreements that are in place. The second half is they are also a last mile provider. That's separate. The county is not involved in their last mile service. We are involved with them in the construction, the building, and if they choose to participate in the middle mile, which they indeed are moving forward with construction connecting to that middle mile, they pay the same fees and services as any other ISP. It's still competitive for any other ISP that matches exactly what they'd be paying in the same form of scales and pricing. So the goal there is, again, trying to bring in new competition for internet service providers. Beautiful. We'll just go right to that first slide, please, right there. Thank you so much. So this is actually a map of the region that I was discussing. We have kind of the three rings specifically. So a three-ring design helps to prevent breaking inside of the line. So if we have a break inside the fiber, the information, the data can reroute without having to have interruptions of service. So our goal is to build a much more robust infrastructure than was typically available. Now, I will want to bring up that ISPs in general have usually had the ability, without naming names, larger corporations that have done internet service providing have had the ability to build these infrastructures to provide services to rural parts of America and rural parts of Arizona. The question then becomes why? It's been cost prohibitive is the major piece. Middle mile infrastructure is the most costly, least effective investment for an ISP. So by taking the burden on and this becoming a network that's owned by the county and sustained for the people of the county, we know that we have the connections and we have the access that's needed. So the internet service providers can then connect on. Wanted to just point out to the right of your screen, you'll see the primary totals, bore, and structure. The key one to look at is the bore. Bore shows 93%. And the reason that that's key is that is the hardest, most labor-intense piece of getting infrastructure built. In order to do bore, we have to do the right-of-ways, permitting, and we've had permittings to work with the COCOPA, Department of Transportation, irrigation districts, just to name a few. And that list continues to grow as we move further east, potentially the railroads, Army Corps of Engineers, and we have worked diligently to make sure that this is streamlined. The structures are the actual physical connections and pieces. The fiber is going to be blown through, and the goal is to have this complete 70 miles. What you see is about 70 miles of circuitry, and that's going to be completed by the end of this year. That will be installed by December 31st of this year. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So as I mentioned, dark fiber is a segment will be completed by this year, 2023. Expansion to Route 95 out to Dome Valley along I-8. It's going to continue to phase 2, which will conclude in December of 2024. These are ARPA funds, which are required to be spent by 2024 of December. And we're looking to engage those middle miles, last mile service providers on the middle mile network. So what's next in the state? Part of a way to illustrate what the needs are of our region. So the FCC had come out with these maps. They created a specific mapping process to help identify where service provisioning is inside of the nation. This was turned out by giving feedback requests from ISPs, last mile internet service providers. They would query the providers, tell us where your connection is, tell us what type of connection, your speed, your feeds, and how many people are you servicing? Now, that information was unchallenged at that point. So an internet service provider could claim to be providing service in a specific area of a specific performance. there was no check and balance. So the FCC has come back with a challenge process. And the challenge process allows us to look at those FCC maps to see where that information was stating. And we can then test if that is accurate. If that information is inaccurate, we can create what's called a challenge process. Challenge process begins at the beginning of next year, and I've been working with a team to get that completed. So when we have a challenge process, that's important because that goes to the top line of that first bullet point, which is BEAD funding. BEAD funding is broadband equity access and deployment. There's $993 million which was issued to the state of Arizona. This money has yet to be issued out to any of the counties or any of the regions. It's typically identified for internet service providers to do the last mile circuit. By having a middle mile, we become much more attractive to internet service providers to deliver those services in our rural parts of our state and inside of our county. So having the ability to challenge, we'll also be able to identify in those places where there's a claim for service and that service may not exist in the way that was presented. If we can get those false claims overturned, they become BEAD eligible as well. So I'm working with ALLO is helping us to identify additional partners as well as ALLO's own expansion into our region. Next slide, please. I hope that kind of gives a brief overview of what the middle mile is, why it adds value, why it's important to the infrastructure and bringing in new opportunities for employment. As illustrated with the company like ALLO. ALLO has brought in over 85 employees. They have a new facility and they're doing a grand opening on the 19th of next month. Or no, I'm sorry, 19th of this month. It starts at like 10 a.m. and I'm sure they'd be sending invitations out if they knew who to send them to. So keep your eyes open for that. But the point is, that's a great partnership. We've looked at P3 partnership, which is private-public partnerships to help keep our costs low and keep us engaged with our communities.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Item number 3, first quarter financial report.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, Chona Medell, Finance Director. Today I'm bringing you fiscal year 2024, the first quarter ended September the 30th, 2023. The presentation that I am about to show you is a broad overview of the city's major revenue sources, governmental general fund expenditures, and enterprise expenditures for the first quarter of our city's fiscal year, budget to actual comparison. This overview does not include major capital improvement projects. What you see here is our major operating revenue. Our major revenue city sales tax is 3.3%, and it includes 2 budget line items. The use tax at 2.5% and an additional sales tax at 0.8%. Those line items are budgeted as shown. These revenues are major revenues of the city budget, and it does include the city's enterprise funds. Typically for the first quarter, it usually is 25%. We have collected 20% overall. The next slide is governmental fund expenditures for the general fund. It shows our total revenues collected at 22% as of September the 30th, and our total expenditures at 22%. Monitoring operating expenditures tends to be near 25% for the first quarter, 50% for the second, and 75% for the third. However, if a large quantity of purchases or expenditures are made in a single quarter, such as like annual subscriptions, or as you see on animal control, it says 50%, they had a capital outlay vehicle included in that general fund line item. So and they have purchased it. So that's why it's showing at 51%. So it can run a little bit higher than expected. Next slide. The next slide, I broke out the highway users revenue fund. This tax represents primary source of revenues available for state highway construction improvements and other related expenses. The total revenues collected to date is 14%, and our total expenditures are at 15%. The next slide is a breakdown of our enterprise funds expenditures. Enterprise funds are running slightly higher on the expenditures for the first quarter. There have been some unforeseen maintenance repairs on equipments included in this quarter, and the revenues for their enterprise are remaining consistent. If you see here, it shows the water enterprise. We've collected 27% of the budgetary amount for revenues, and we expended 13% on the water enterprise. Wastewater enterprise, the total revenues collected is 23%, and the total expenditures are 35%. And the solid waste enterprise, total revenues collected are 19%, and its total expenditures are 25%. In conclusion, as finance director, I'm still learning the methods of determining the fiscal year 2024 budget, as well as learning the history of the budget trends. My team and I are working to continue to figure out more efficient methods to maintain growth and sustainability. We're doing our due diligence to remain conservatives while keeping operations and capital improvement projects running smoothly, and we'll continue to daily monitor revenues and expenditures for the city. We'll stay diligent and navigate any concerns to stay within our city's budgets. So what I presented to you this evening was a broad overview of how our city's revenues and expenditure expenditure budget to actuals look like for the city. I have been in my position for 3 months, and it's been a learning experience to say the least, but I embrace the challenges that come my way. Here are a few challenges that I've encountered in my 3 months as finance director. I've been working alongside an administrator to verify the budget numbers for this fiscal year and determine how the figures were derived. The department directors are working on understanding what items are included in their departmental budgets and the process that goes along with managing their budgets. It is part of my job educating and communicating the department directors to help them understand what is included and keep them reviewing their budget items on a monthly basis. Allocation of indirect costs is a large part of the budgeting process, as well as a large process of the day-to-day activities in the finance department. Indirect costs include administrative expenses, where the department incurs cost for support that provides to other departments. For example, the legal, finance, human resources, facilities, maintenance, and IT are departments that provide support to all departments within our city. Currently, the costs are being allocated manually to some departments. This method is not only time-consuming, but does not have the basis of why the allocations are distributed. For example, a tool was purchased by our vehicle maintenance shop that is used on all vehicles. This purchase must be divided 7 different ways to the department, as the vehicle tool was used for each department's vehicle. Indirect cost allocation plan is a plan that has a rational methodology that can be used to apply a certain percentage monthly to each department to allocate the expense for each department. This is a method most municipalities are currently using, and if needed, this can be brought back to council for more discussion at a later date. The audit process was recently finalized. We were able to provide all the information requested. Now I will be working with our contracted CPA firm to implement a simplified method in determining questions and system entries that would help us in the future audit processes. Current finance policies and procedures must be reviewed and updated. The 2008 procurement policy needs to be updated to fit today's current economy, inflation, and price increases. Because this policy is part of the City Code of Ordinances, Article 3-5, updating this policy might be a little more extensive. Recently, the finance department, along with other departments in the city, have been challenged to keep operations running smoothly with limited personnel. In my department, our accounts payable and our accounting specialists resigned within a week apart. We have interviewed and filled both positions, but we were challenged with being competitive with the rate of pay when submitting offer letters to the qualified potential candidates. A restructuring plan was started prior to me being hired, and I am working closely with the administration and human resources to be able to find the right combination for positions to help run our city finances. finance department more efficiently and provide excellent service not only to our public, but to our internal departmental customers. Additional information will be provided to council on this at a later date. All in all, I wish to continue to listen, learn, and provide guidance to help making our city of Somerton a well-managed, maintained, and fiscally sustainable city. This process will take some time, but I know we'll be there with the support of council, administration, and all city staff. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to be the part of the Somerton community.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you. Move on to new business, discussion and possible action. MOU with Western Council of Governments for vehicle lease of 2023 GMC Savana.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Angelica Roldan, Parks and Recreation Director. Western Arizona Council of Governments is leasing a 2023 GMC Savana for a term of 5.5 years for the amount of $1. This van will be used to continue supporting the activities and field trips at the senior center. Mayor and Council, we're asking for the approval of this MOU with WACOC. Do you have any questions?
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion? So motion by Councilwoman Gonzalez,
Second.
second by Councilman Castillo. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Summary of current events.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll start with community development. So
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Community development current events. Number one, I have that it has been 3 years since we adopted the infill incentive overlay plan back in 2020. And I will be preparing a presentation soon to display some of the highlights of what the plan has accomplished in 3 years, as well as propose bring to the table some potential amendments for your consideration, future amendments to the plan. It is a document that we need to keep updating as well as some of our other documents. On the building safety side, we're expecting 2 big submittals soon, 2 big commercial submittals. One is the Sunset Health Clinic, which is approximately 26,000 square feet of building area that's coming to Somerton. And the second one is the high school gym. The high school, Somerton High School, is getting ready to submit their plans for the big gymnasium. So that's very exciting. It's coming ahead of schedule, actually, it seems. Lastly, an update on Circle K. We concluded the lot tie for that project last month, and I got an update from their design firm this morning that the plans are in design right now. Their full set of construction plans are in design, and we can expect that submittal in early 2024. And that's all I have.
Chief of Police, Chief Juarez.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Araceli Juarez, Chief of Police. Couple things. So this every so often the Yuma Union High School will be selecting a staff from their facility to recognize them. This month they'll be recognizing Officer Zazueta, who's a resource officer on site, and they'll be featuring him in a video, promotional video within the school grounds and the district. So in case you see that out there, we're getting ready for the Tamale Festival preparations for everybody to be safe. And hopefully this event is, we try to do everything we can every year to plan ahead of time and have officers in particular in very important positions so we can be of best service to the community. We're reaching out to the public for 2 things. We're asking the public, we had a recent shooting over the weekend. We're asking anyone that may have information, if they can call us, they may remain anonymous, they can call the 928-627-2011 number. And anyone that has information of any graffiti throughout town, if they can call us as well, we believe that might be related to our shooting. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Public Works, Charles.
Mayor and Council, Charles Gutierrez, Public Works Director. tonight on the streets, Parkview Avenue and Main Street improvements. We will be completing a walkthrough for final inspection by the end of next week. I encourage you to please go to Parkview and take a drive on it. It's pretty nice. Water in the water department, the 1.25 million gallon storage tank. The contractor is on time right now. The footings will be poured by the end of or by the middle of next week. Also, at the same time, the tank itself will start to be delivered within the next 20 days on site, and we're preparing to receive it all. Somerton 1898, the contractor is working on the infrastructure. You'll notice that Main Street in the center is closed at Tumbaga Loop. And that's it. Thank you.
Economic Development, Jasmine?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jasmine Smoothie, Economic Development. Just a quick update on 2111 West Main Street, which is a lot in front of City Council in front of City Hall next to T-Mobile, Boost Mobile, sorry. I met with Tony Riggs, the owner. He gave me an update on his property. As of November 24th, he had surveyed the lot. And I just gave him a reminder of his timeframes regarding the contract that we had with him. Moving along with properties, 335 West Spring Street, we began the appraisal process on that property. Any questions? Thank you.
And Finance Director, Shona.
Mayor and Council, Shona Medell, Finance Director. As stated before, I have new finance staff, accounts payable tech and accounting specialists will start on Monday. They're both experienced in finance and customer service and have several years experience. So we're hoping that they provide us what we need to make sure that the positions in the finance team is running smoothly. This week, I am starting to send monthly budget to actuals to each director, just to help them understand where their budget is and where they stand at this time period, and to help them start thinking about the upcoming budget process. And then I'm also meeting with department heads and team supervisors to help them with the finance standard operating procedures and working to get them written standard operating procedures for the internal finance department, so that to help them run more efficiently and help us run more efficiently. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And Mayor, just to close off, I just want to thank the council for the support for the employee appreciation dinner. We had a great time, and we thank the committee and all the staff that participated. So Saul said that something about some kind of commitment for next year, but I think everybody overall went really well, and we want to thank you again for able to budget for the employees each year. Thank you very much.
Councilman Castillo.
Well, I wanted to thank staff for the tree lighting event. Everything was well. Want to thank you for your hard work and everything that went into it. It looked beautiful. I heard that the employee dinner was great, so I want to thank everyone that went and attended. I do apologize for not attending. I had a prior commitment with the wife, but I heard everyone had fun, so that's good. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilman Villalpando.
I don't have anything, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
First and foremost, congratulations, Vanessa. I don't know if she left already, but I apologize for not being able to attend. I had work duties, military academies, so I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend this year. Very well attended. And just a reminder, the Yuma County continues to offer their vaccine services, and we're having another one this month, December 14th, at the same place.
Again, the employee dinner, thank you to the committee. It was a great time, like, every year. And next year we're having double, right? The prizes, they were great prizes, so The, again, thanks staff for the tree lighting. It's getting better every year, so it's always good. The entertainment was pretty good too, and a lot of people smiling. And also I want to thank staff for all their coordination with the Tamale Festival Committee, and also want to thank the Alumni Club for putting this event together. So it's been the the months of planning, and now I think everything's coming in place. So thank you. And that's it. 7:46. Meeting's adjourned.